Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk to you about contour drawing. This is a type of drawing that we will be focusing on this week and practicing over the next couple weeks. So what is contour drawing? Contour drawing is observing and drawing the outlines of an object. So these outlines might include the exterior edges, the outside outline of something, the interior edges. For example, if you look on these shoes here, you'll see these interior contour lines of the straps, and then implied lines that show volume. I'll show you some of those in a slide coming up here. Just as a fun fact, in French, the word contour actually means outline. So here's a few examples of really simple contour drawings. I'm going to assume probably most of you have done contour drawings already in your life. Maybe you just didn't realize that it was a contour drawing that you were doing. But these are drawings that are just very simple, mainly focused on outlines. You won't see a lot of shading, shadows, things like that. However, one thing I do want to point out to you is, especially in this top left image, please notice the weight, meaning how dark or how thick the lines are, is varied. So look at the lines here at the bottom of this banana compared to the line of the one right next to it. When we do a contour drawing, it doesn't mean that every single line is the same thickness, the same width, the same darkness. Having that varied light and dark lines can really help give your picture more definition and make it look more realistic. So contour lines are also useful for showing the volume of an object. This is what I was talking about when I was talking about implied contour lines. So as you look at these pictures of hands, you'll see these curved lines that make the hand look more three-dimensional and round. So one way that this has been described to me before is if you imagine an ant walking over the surface of the object and leaving a trail behind it, what curves or valleys or peaks are being left behind that ant. So when we look at this hand over here, when we look at these fingers, these curved contour lines are what help this finger look like it's rounded. Try to imagine for a moment, what would this look like if these were all straight across? It would look really flat, wouldn't it? Same with these hands and wrists. Over here you can see these really beautiful implied contour lines. We know that this person doesn't have lines like that on their arms unless they're tattooed on or something like that. But putting these lines in there help these hands and the wrists really start to look more three-dimensional and rounded. Notice how there's really no straight lines on here because none of this is flat. It's all very curved. So taking a look at this hand, I want you to pay close attention to where does the weight and the spacing of the lines change. And when I say the weight, what that means is how hard is that person pushing down or how dark are those lines. So notice, where do those lines change from dark to light? Where do you see darker lines on here? And where do you see some lighter lines? And then where do the lines get closer together and where do they get further apart? And then you also might think about, what effect does that have on the drawing? So I'm going to use my cursor to point out these areas right in here. We have some lines that are really close together, which make that hand kind of feel scrunched up, maybe further away from us. And then down here we have these really broad lines that are a little bit further apart that help that hand kind of come toward us. You can imagine again, if all these lines were equally spaced and straight, what would happen to this image? If you're thinking to yourself it would look really flat, I would agree with you. If you look at this finger up here, these curved implied lines help that finger look three-dimensional and rounded. If these lines were straight across, it would immediately flatten out that finger and it would look really flat. So take a moment right now, cup one of your hands like you're holding a little bit of water in your hand, and just look down and start to notice, looking really closely, what are the largest, kind of deepest contour lines you see in the center of your hand right now. You might notice the lines around your fingers, where your fingers kind of meet the palm of your hand. If you curve your fingers a little bit, you might even notice some darker lines where your fingers are bending. And then notice where those really light lines are as well. This careful observation is going to help you as we get into our drawing exercises. So let's talk about cross contour drawing. If you want a little bit more of a challenge, cross contour drawing is for you. So cross contour lines can be added to further show the weight of an object. And again, imagine that ant leaving a trail. So instead of the ant going just one direction, it maybe would go a second direction. For example, I'm going to point out this hand over here. We can see these beautiful implied contour lines coming around this thumb. But we also have these vertical lines now coming up. Imagine if that ant were crawling down and around the thumb. It gives us a second dimension to kind of make this hand look more three-dimensional. And here's a couple more examples of some cross contour drawings. So if you're somebody who has some experience with this already, maybe this would be another element you could add into your drawing to help your work look a little bit more three-dimensional. This is just another example of a shell that I found online that I thought was really a really beautiful example of some cross contour lines. Again, notice how the lines here are not all the same thickness. They're not all the same weight. Here's a couple more fun examples I found that I just wanted to share with you. Again, how do we make something look three-dimensional on a flat surface, a flat piece of paper? This is kind of the fun of drawing, right? How do these simple black lines, curved in the right way, look like there's a hole in the middle of the paper? This is a really pixelated image, but I thought it was really cool to share. This was in an art gallery, and I think it would be really dizzy to stand in this room. But this is all just contour lines close together, far apart, giving you that sense that the walls are almost moving a little bit. And here's a couple more fun examples. Maybe you've even done an exercise like the one on the left. This is a really common, simple elementary art exercise where people will take their hand and just trace it flat onto a piece of paper and then draw a straight line until they get to their hand, and then they curve around where their hand is. If you'd like to do an exercise like this in your sketchbook, I say go for it. It's kind of a fun optical illusion to try. The picture on the right, I actually took in Madison at a store on Mineral Point Road that sells used DVDs. If anyone knows the name of it, let me know. But I walked into this building and I immediately thought, oh my gosh, this carpet would be a perfect example for my contour drawing lesson. Again, notice how it looks like there's divots in the floor, but that's really all just done with lines. So on Tuesday in class, we will be doing drawing exercise number 3, which is a blind contour drawing. And I'm going to give you a little bit of information now so you kind of know what to expect. So this type of contour drawing helps build that connection between your eye and your hand. When you are learning how to draw, what you're trying to do is be able to look at the world, see things with your eye, and then let your hand draw what your eye sees. This sounds simple, but it's really difficult to do. So building that connection between what your eye sees and what your hand can draw is what blind contour drawing is going to help us with. So we'll be doing a drawing of your hand, and we're not going to be looking at the paper. We're going to look really closely at our hand as we draw, and we're going to move our pencil only as fast as our eye moves while we're looking, which means we're going to go slowly. And I'll demonstrate this with you, and we'll do it together as a class. You're going to use a continuous line. What that means is you don't lift up your drawing utensil. You can see in this top right image over here, this is where this drawing started. The person was drawing this continuous line. It doesn't matter if it overlaps. It doesn't matter if it gets a little messy. They're looking at the shape of their finger going around and around and around until they get to the end. Again, you don't look at your paper while you draw, so you don't know what it's going to look like until you're totally finished. This is all about process. It's not about product. So that means that the experience of creating these drawings is much more important than what your drawing actually looks like in the end. Again, this is the exercise we'll be doing in class on Tuesday this week. Here's a few more examples of what your drawings could potentially end up looking like. Some students laugh, they think it's kind of silly. I think that's great. I think it's fun to do a drawing exercise where we're not so concerned about what it looks like in the end, but about building that process. It does require a lot of concentration, so I'm going to ask on Tuesday in class that you're in a space that's free from distraction, meaning you should be ideally at a quiet space, at a desk. You can do this sitting on the floor if you wanted to, but you shouldn't have anyone else in the room making noise or things that are going to distract you. And I want to emphasize one more time, this is about process, not about the product, not about your final drawing. It doesn't matter what it looks like in the end, it's about the experience. On Wednesday in class, we'll be doing a shoe contour drawing. So this drawing, you'll be drawing either 1 or 2 shoes, and you get to choose the shoe. So you may want to start looking around now at your house, any shoes that you think would be kind of fun to draw. For this exercise, you will get to look at your object, so you'll get to look at your shoe while you draw. I'm going to ask you to, again, look closely and try to draw what you see, not what you know, so building that connection between your eye and your hand. Here are just a few examples of some shoe contour drawings. You'll see in the bottom left image that person put some implied lines in, again, to give that shoe a little bit more illusion of volume. Here are a few more examples of some shoes. If you're a little bit nervous about this activity, you can make it a little bit more simple for yourself, like the top left image, and just have one shoe with a side view. That's a little bit more simple to draw. If you want more of a challenge, that's fantastic. Look at this bottom left shoe. You'll see that the shoe is pointed toward the viewer, which is a more tricky angle, and they did some cross contour lines in there as well. So start thinking now about what type of shoe you might want to draw. Maybe look around your house and see if there's any that look interesting to you. Please do not draw any flip-flops. Those are just a little too simple. I will also say that sandals can be more of a challenge because they have a lot of straps, and straps can be difficult to draw. And you can choose to draw one or both shoes in the pair. It's up to you. So again, we'll be doing this exercise on Wednesday. So now you know a little bit more about contour drawing, and I hope you're excited to join me in class on Tuesday and Wednesday this week as we do some blind contour drawing of our hands and some contour drawings of our shoes. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'm looking forward to seeing you soon.